let's get started. Yeah, why don't you call the roll, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Moreno. Councilmember Morel. Councilmember Jeruso. Councilmember Harris. Councilmember King. Councilmember Green.
Present.
Councilmember Thomas. We have 4 members of this joint committee. We have a quorum.
Thank you. First up, we have the approval of minutes from the January 29th meeting. Which committee is that? Joint, or is that governmental affairs, or?
Nate, is that GA?
Okay. I will move for the approval of those minutes. Can I get a second? Second by Councilmember Harris. Please vote your machines. 3 yeas, no nays. The minutes are approved. Next up, we have appointments. First up, we have...
I'm sorry. If we have, can we get a full vote?
Oh, who's not on GA?
Oh, it's just.
The minutes were just GA, and there are 3 of us for GA, which is...
That's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, no, it's a confusing rule. It's fine.
Yes. All right, so we have appointments. The first up, we have Elizabeth Frost, who is being appointed to the Ernest M. Memorial Convention Center. Why would you like to serve on the Convention Center Board?
First of all, thank you for inviting me, and I want to thank the New Orleans Chamber for nominating me. The Convention Center is kind of the heart of how we get more tourists into the city, and I think that the city needs more. The Super Bowl was great, but we advertise ourselves, and I think we should work on that more, and I'd like to be on the board to try to get us to a higher level of getting conventions here.
All right, thank you. Your form is complete. Everything is in order. I will move to approve. Can I get a second? Second, Councilmember Green, please vote your machines. All right, 4 yeas, no nays. It is approved. Next up, we have Ruth Coleman to the New Orleans Aviation Board. Hi, Ruth. Come on down. Same question. Why do you want to be on the Aviation Board?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. There's so many reasons, but they told me I had to keep it short, so I'll try. But first of all, I was just a little personal note. I'm not from New Orleans. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and on Sunday evenings, I remember my father and mother and my sister and I used to go for Sunday evenings to watch the planes land and depart from the Tulsa International Airport. So I feel like this has been in my blood for a very long time. I really have worked in a lot of different areas trying to help the city, vacations, leisure travel. I have learned a great deal over the last several years that I've served, and I would like to continue to be part of that very dedicated and talented group of people who are very committed to making the airport as good as it can be and even better. So I look forward to another term if possible.
All right, well, thank you. Your paperwork is in order. I'll entertain a motion. I will move. Can I get a second? Second by Councilmember Harris. Please vote your machines. 4 yeas, no nays. You are approved. Thank you, Ms. Coleman, for being here today. Next up, we have Susan Good, the veteran of the Industrial Development Board.
Thank you very much. I have served on the Industrial Development Board since 2006, when Councilmember Velcro appointed me, and have served under Stacy Head and now Councilmember Moreno. I served with Mr. Green and Ms. Harris. I think I might be the senior member.
You've been on the Industrial Development Board as long as I've been in politics. That's a really long time.
Tells you how old I am, too. Yes, I've served under Jimmy Thorns as our chair, and then the late Alan Phillipson, and now Daryl Cezanne. And I have enjoyed learning while I was there, but also I feel like the Industrial Development Board is continuing to help promote the city as far as new industry and housing projects. We did a lot after Katrina to help rebuild the city, and it would be my pleasure to continue serving.
All right. Yes, you can.
Susan, you're my reappointment, and I just really want to thank you for your many years of service. I know that when your reappointment was coming, I was like, are you still wanting to do this? And you very enthusiastically still wanted to continue to serve. So just thank you so much for your years of dedication.
Thank you.
Councilman Green?
And I just wanted to also do the same. It was a pleasure serving with you on the Industrial Development Board. It's a board that has a significant role in enhancing job creation and making some projects happen that wouldn't happen otherwise. But you served with such distinction and you served with such interest and motivation that I think you've affected all of the members who have served with you on the board because they see your dedication. So thank you for the work that you've done and that you're willing to continue that same work.
Thank you so much, Councilman.
All right.
Here, here.
Councilman Moreno has moved. I will second. All in favor, please vote. 4 yeas, no nays. You are reconfirmed. Well, I think we have one more. Alexander Kelso to the Audubon Commission. Why would you like to serve on the Audubon Commission?
Well, I've been on the Audubon Commission for the last 6 years. But prior to that, and continuing now, I'm also a part of a group called Parks for All that's very interested in making sure that New Orleans has great parks that are all over the city. Audubon Park is kind of the flagship park of the city, but it has a role in promoting health and green trees and green activities throughout the city, and it also has resources that not everybody has, and those can be used all over the city. So that's part of what I care about.
Okay. Well, all your paperwork is in order. I will move for approval. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Bernhardt. Please vote your machines. 3 yeas, no nays. You are approved. Thank you. The next matter is the Vice President's matter, so I will turn the mic over to her.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 4 is contracts for recommendation of approval and execution for Council Rule 57. First, we will start with Amendment number 6 to the Professional Services Agreement between the City of New Orleans and Digital Engineering and Imaging regarding the Lincoln Beach redevelopment site. Come on up, Ms. Robles. You can fill us in on this and answer our questions.
Hello, Sharon Robles. I'm the environmental.
Sharon, why don't you come to the table?
I don't have a PowerPoint.
Oh, what?
I don't have a PowerPoint. I was just going to.
That's okay. Just come down because we may have a series of different questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sharon Robles, I'm the Environmental Affairs Administrator for the city and also the Project Manager for Lincoln Beach. Thanks again for the opportunity to provide a brief update on Lincoln Beach. The Office of Resilience and Sustainability, we were actually here on December 6th and December 7th. We did a presentation in front of the Public Works Committee and also in front of the Economic Development Committee. Councilman Moreno, your staff let us know that you were looking for a brief overview of this amendment, and so that's what I'm providing for you today.
And put the mic a little closer to you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we are asking for Amendment 6 to the contract with Digital Engineering and Imaging and for their continued work on Lincoln Beach. Amendment 6 adds an additional $729,45 to the contract, bringing the total value to $2.1 million, a little over $2.1 million, and it extends the contract through April 2026. This amendment includes time to perform the following tasks. The part that's under civil infrastructure improvements, that's finalizing the design of the tunnel improvements, including the new sump pump, which we've confirmed can use the existing drainage line to provide services to Lincoln Beach. And we'll be able to line those existing pipes. It's like kind of like putting a balloon inside and inflating it to make sure that the pipes are strong enough to handle the capacity, and it'll be able to handle the capacity of the utilities that we'll have when we actually reopen the beach. This amendment also includes finalizing the parking lot design and adjusting the geometry. This is the smaller initial parking lot, which will open with 180 spaces. And as a reminder, we are intending to add another about 320 spaces as part of a second phase, but this is the first part of the parking lot. The structural repairs and demolition, this covers the modifications to accommodate the master plan elements. So as an example, the waterfront structures, we were initially thinking all of those would be removed, but now as part of the feedback that we've received from residents in the community, we're going to keep some of the waterfront structures in place. And so we have to make sure that we stabilize those structures, and also the bulkhead shoreline stabilization. It won't be necessary any longer. We also will need to do some work on the pavilions that are there. The last task is development and oversight of the construction management and risk RFP in coordination with the future construction contractor once they're selected. So Digital, they've put together the first draft, and they are helping the city put out the RFP. And then when we actually get to the construction, they will be overseeing the construction of the elements that they designed, which includes the pump. The amendment also allows for pre-construction work with the construction management risk contractor, which will allow us to complete the construction at a lower price. In some other projects, they've reduced the overall cost by about 20% by having a CMAR contract. And then we'll also be able to accelerate and get the beach open quicker, which is what everyone has been asking for. The work I described above is a new design work. It's a little more challenging to remove the waterfront structures carefully as opposed to just removing everything at one time. We're going to have to be more careful how we do that, so it's additional design work to make that happen safely. You had questions about the DVE compliance, and each of the city's consultants, Digital Engineering and Sasaki, they're exceeding their 35% DVE compliance goal. This is verified by the Office of Supplier Diversity. And one of the reasons the project team has selected CMAR as the contracting vehicle is because we can ensure the future contractor not only meets their 35% DVE requirement, but prioritizes efforts to recruit businesses that are from New Orleans East. So hiring subcontractors, trucking companies, electricians that are from New Orleans East, and also suppliers. And the CMAR contract allows for that, for us to rank those contractors who intend to do that at a higher level. We did also get some feedback that there is conflicting information that the project is delayed. Right now, our priority is getting the bid out. When we were here in December, we were hoping to get the bid out in December. We have been a little bit delayed. We're trying to confirm, we need to confirm that the HUD funding, which is the money that Congressman Carter gave us, that we can use the CMAR contract. We don't want a second contractor. We want one contractor to be able to do this because it increases the ease in which you can actually get things done. You don't want two contractors working too closely together in one physical space.
Wait, so slow down. What's the confusion around this money?
It's not confusion, it's just that we have to, like, for example, the state has already said, yes, you can use this construction management at risk, and then so has the Restore Act, the money from Treasury that we have, but we're waiting for a confirmation from HUD, and so we expect to have that shortly. We have to justify, it's more like we say we want to do it and this is why, and they just say, okay, they don't say, yes, you can do this, they just say, we're agreeable to that. So we're in the process of requesting that.
Okay, so has it been requested, or you're in the process?
We started that conversation and told them what we were thinking, and then now we need to finalize some of the specifics. As an example, FEMA doesn't normally allow CMAR, but Restore does, and other sources do, and so our justification is this is what's better for the community because we'll be able to likely come in at a lower budget, and we'll also be able to finish more rapidly, which is what we want, which is what everyone's asking for. So we have the justification, we just have to write it up and resubmit it. And we're working with our internal team. Erin Gallagher from procurement we're working with her, and then we'll submit it to the feds.
Okay,
So we've had initial conversations with them.
So what do you think the timeline looks like for everything to get into HUD and then us to get an answer back?
I'm hoping to finalize everything so we submit it to HUD next week.
And then what's usually the turnaround? I just want to make sure everyone stays aware of all this stuff.
Right, so we haven't worked with this is our new, because we haven't spent this money before, we haven't worked with her that often. I would hope about 2 weeks. When we talked to her boss and when we talked to her and her boss, on a conference call explaining what we wanted to do, and they were in favor, but we needed to go through some of the logistics, they seemed agreeable to it. So we're pretty confident that we'll be able to move forward with it.
Can you please notify us when all the paperwork's been submitted and when you receive an answer officially back?
Oh yeah, and we'll definitely notify you. And especially when the actual bid goes out, not only, normally the city also, puts the bid out and it'll be on LinkedIn, but we will be sharing that all over the place, and we'll definitely ask for each of you to use your social channels to help expand reach. Also, during the bid process, we will also have a site visit at Lincoln Beach, like where potential contractors can actually see everything to make sure they understand what they're getting into. It's also going to be like a networking opportunity. We'll have an industry day event, and that'll be at the library in New Orleans East. So we will be coming to you, asking you to help magnify these events to make sure that we get a really good team in place.
Okay.
We did just finalize the details of the milestone meeting, the fourth milestone meeting, which is the final milestone meeting. That'll be May 6th at Franklin Avenue Baptist Church. And we've also just finalized an oral history collecting event where people who, if like they themselves experience Lincoln Beach, they can come and be recorded so that we can figure out how, we'll use those in the future, but they can come and get recorded to tell their stories. And it's also an opportunity, for example, if someone wanted to come and talk about what their grandparents used to share, they can also come and share that information on that day. So it's March 29th, it's at St. Augustine High School, and again, we'll be sharing all this with you, and we'll hope that you'll share it with your network so we can get more people there. We also need to make some zoning changes. For example, in the second part of the, like there's multiple phases of the work. The second phase of work includes putting in an NOPD substation in a portion of the parking lot, and we do need a conditional use for that, so we'll be coming back for that. And I do remember, Councilmember Moreno, you previously asked, make sure we're not excluding the NPP, and we'll definitely do an NPP, the neighborhood participation process, to make sure that we get feedback.
What else do we need a conditional use for? Wasn't it the parking lot or something? So we needed
The actual parking lot, no. The putting something in the parking lot, like the substation, yes.
Okay.
So, but that'll be coming, I'm sure it'll be like before the summer. And then I'll take any questions.
So when you started out your presentation, you briefly mentioned the master plan. I remember back in December, I think you said the master plan was roughly 70% done. Where are we now with the master plan?
We'll present the final master plan. We've seen some of the images, but we'll present the final master plan on May 6th. And we did originally think that we were going to have that, have like the final presentation in March. We did shift it back until May because we were putting the contract back in order, but we'll have it in May.
Wait, so go back. So what are the delays in getting the master plan out?
Like, for example, we had to like renew Sasaki's contract, that takes a while, and we did do some negotiation to get that in place. So that's why we're about 2 months delayed.
So I remember that the council approved the Sasaki contract. Was this like a law department delay, or what happened with the?
No, it was, in terms of like the meeting date, we also had to confirm like when the actual venue was available, and there was some conflicts there. Nothing alarming. We went straight from when I guess that was that December 6th or November 6th? It went straight from here back to Sasaki, and then the mayor signed it. It didn't take a long time. It was mostly like getting the venue.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm just wondering, because it didn't seem like it took that long as to why there is now this delay from March to May. So what changes have happened, though, between, I guess, your December update to now? Are we now, would you say, we were at 70%. Where are we with the master plan?
I'd say we're like at 85%. So some of the things that we changed, like, I'm trying to remember where the image is. Like, we had everything that was the most popular at that time, and we had like a flyer where residents were able to rank what their preference was, like whether they came in person, whether they answered online, or whether they did a paper survey. So we have all of the responses, and we'll have it's a very elaborate image showing like how everything turned out. We moved some of the kayaking spaces. We moved those back a little bit closer. I'm trying to think what else we did. One of the top programming ideas was people were really excited about a drive-in movie theater in the parking lot. So that's easy, not very not very expensive. So we'll be able to incorporate that. But we're at like the final stages where we're just about to put a bow on it, and I think people will be really happy. Like it's definitely a place that I think everyone will want to go to.
So as this project moves forward, obviously the parking lot, things like that, and we're talking about the digital engineering contract, are they the ones responsible for neighborhood engagement and things like that?
No, that's Sasaki.
Sasaki, got it, okay. We do have a lot of public comment, so we will start with Sage Michael. Yeah, he filled it up.
Thank you. I just heard about this Monday, Wednesday. I got work, you know, I got to get to work. It's raining outside, so thank y'all for calling me first. Appreciate that. I got 2 minutes, so this long story short, let's cease and desist. Let's stop. Let's stop spending our money. Let's just stop the whole process. With the money we have left, Lincoln Beach in the past was the beach house. Let's redo a park. We got a little money left that we're spending money outright on designs, assessments, storage studies. Let's just, y'all cut the checks. So I'm asking y'all with our money, stop spending money out. With the money we have, we opened the park for the community, activism-wise, cleaned up, restored it, and ran it for 5 years. Safe and sound, safely in the city of New Orleans, with our own money. I'm not asking for the money out the project. I've been asking for a position to be positioned to help represent the community, right? I've been talking with digital engineering in the past. That email thread came to a dead end. And now when I looked at this thing right here, there's a 168 line item for a residential project representative, right? That's too much money for that. And they have had no community engagement, and they have been having federal funds in their hand. And community engagement is required when you're managing federal funds, not from Sasaki, but from people receiving the project funds themselves. So all I'm saying is right now, do not spend another dollar to anything else. Open up a park that can generate revenues itself, self-revenues. And then all these permits that are getting done, let's stop having verbal reports. Where are we with the railroad? Where are we with the bridge? Where we are with the Hawk system? We've been getting reports and dragged out. And last, I've been representing this community project on my own for a lot. And I believe there have been some conversations. We've been trying to work on cooperative agreements since December. But they can come in and work on a contract for $700,000 for digital engineering who has had no community engagement. We have had no communication for that cooperative agreement in December 3rd. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for a position. And I'm just requesting any email, any transaction, anytime my name is mentioned with the project manager, with Sasaki, I need to know that. Because I know there's been conversations been had about me without me. I know my 2 minutes up, but please, council people, your hands are on the check. We the reason why they raised $24 million, because we cleaned it up, we restored it, we went across the country, across the nation, everything did it. They're getting paid for it. We're not getting paid. Y'all ask the community members to show up for your community. We showed up, but they're spending our money,
Thank you, Sage. That's your time. I do have he did have a good question here. What is the Seymour resident project representative for $168,000?
That's an engineer that's on site to make sure, you mean the resident inspector?
No, it says, under task 20, Seymour resident project representative, a new task, $168,920.
Yeah, it's the resident inspector. It's the person it's an engineer who's like physically on site to make sure that things are being done like as they are said during the plan. So it's an engineer that's on site to oversee the construction contractor. We have the engineer who's the expert, and then we have the construction company, and they work together to make sure things happen safely. And it's also like recording it, confirming that the quantities are correct. It's a technical skill.
Got it.
That person's physically on site every day.
This looks like Anitra Abraham? I'm sorry. Come on up, Mr. Abraham.
Thank you all, council, for transparency. One of the things that we've been dealing with right now, it should have been a reason that us in the community have to wait until almost March. It's literally almost a week until March for us to have this type of information. We shouldn't have had to wait this long. And so one of the things that I will say right now, until our next community meeting, which will be on March 15th, that we get full updates concerning all permits concerning Lincoln Beach, concerning all negotiations. I'm all for contractors getting paid. I'm for people getting their rightful due concerning services being done, but we need full transparency. We cannot expect a trusting relationship without communication. It doesn't go that way. And so right now, I'm for the opposing, and I ask that the motion be made that this be delayed until after the meeting, which is March 15th, so that we can figure these things out and build that trusting relationship with our community. And
Yeah, we need more information concerning the permits, concerning the air rights that are going to be going on, because as the services are going on, we need to know these things are being secured, because as of now, the federal administration is dealing with the cancellation of EPA, so the funding concerning EPA is in jeopardy. The funding concerning HUD is in jeopardy. And so right now, we need to make sure we get all things transparent so that we're not just spending down on money and things are being done effectively and efficiently for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Abraham. You bring up a good point. I don't have any objection to delaying until after that meeting. Dawn Aber?
May I respond to those comments? So there's no, we haven't applied for any permits because we haven't finalized those designs. So the only permit we've applied for so far is to actually do the boring samples that were on the flood side, which was already done and completed. The air rights is not an issue with the exception of Norfolk Southern, who we are in the process of signing a CEA with, because they give us and allow us to have permission to actually go over their train. So that's been in the works for quite a while, and
Yeah, what's the status of that CEA?
we're just waiting for a signature. It went down to the mayor's office, and I asked about it yesterday, but it's already been down for signature. So the city has to pay Norfolk Southern to actually review our plans, and so it's $25,000 that we've already set aside for them to do that. So we just need a signature so they can actually start doing those reviews. The money from EPA that we had applied for the parking lot, we did get a confirmation that we can move forward with the QAPP, which is like the paperwork to confirm that we're doing that right. And we also, when I was here in November, we told you about how we'd applied for some beach nourishment money at $1.5 million, and we were worried that we weren't going to get that, but actually got the confirmation email. Today's Wednesday. We got it on Monday afternoon that we actually are going to get that money, so I'm really excited about that. And the HUD funding, we have no indication that there's any challenge. This is a congressional allocation. There's no question that no one has said that we're not getting it, so we're going to still move forward as though we are. And then we just have the final CMAR approval, and that's it. So, and I did actually go to the meeting that was on, it was in I think it was December 17th, when we were at the little, December 17th? We were at the little, it's like an arcade. I was there, and I did give an update to everyone who was there at that time, and there were a handful of people, like Dawn was there.
Ms. Aber?
All right. Dawn Aber, 6846 Lake Willow Drive. In fact, at that meeting, Sharon presented a handout that had the project team. She meant it's on it, it's digital engineering, they had the deliverables, which she has mentioned actually today. But in that document, it says that as far as the DBE, and first of all, it says whether the contracts are complete or current. For DEI, they have 47.50% committed and 51.24% currently. So they have not fulfilled the first contract, from my understanding. I also question why they cannot present to the community what they are doing, any updates, even though it may not have been in the contract. Why can't it be in the next contract? Why don't we know what they're doing? I also question that residential project representative at $169,000. Who is that? How is that person going to be hired? Are they putting out, did they have to apply? Was this a bid contract, or was this contract just given to DEI? And why was it not bidded for other people to bid on? Also, the industry day, when is that going to happen so that contractors, people in the community and the city can bid on those contracts? So those are my questions. And to increase their bid to $726,000 is a lot of money, and who's to say they won't have another change order coming down the line? So I question them continuing the project, and I'm asking that they update us, because we don't see anything happening with the parking lot and any of their deliverables from the first contract. Thank you.
So I can respond to those. So digital engineering was hired as part of a pool. When I was still in the Department of Public Works, we had a bunch of different engineering firms that were ranked and put in order of how they would be awarded contracts, and digital just happened to be the next one on the list. I happen to have worked with them before, and so they've continued through, now it's been several years that they've continued to work on a project. And so it was a competitive bid, a pool. I think we started it in 2020. It's been several years. The industry day is going to be, so as soon as the construction management at risk contract, the bid goes out, that's when we have industry day, that's when we have the site visit, that's when we have like the online time for people to have questions. And like we've talked about before, there will be like at least 3 different networking opportunities for potential contractors to come. And that's when that's when we're really going to have like, we want ENONAC to send out all those information about what those events are. There will be an online-only one, an in-person one at the beach, and then there'll be one at the library. So we haven't got to the point where it makes sense to have an industry day yet because we're not actually out to bid yet, but it's coming soon. And then you were asking about the resident inspector. Typically, it's a person who has field experience. It's an engineer, someone who has a degree, someone who's been part of the team and is familiar with like the project plans. But that person it's typically one of their subcontractors that they hire. They usually use Wingate, which is also doing the demolition of the waterfront structures. So it's an engineer. And the reason it's 160 is you're kind of taking an estimate of how many hours you think you're going to be on site. So it could be one person 8 hours a day, or for example, like if it's in the summer and there's an opportunity to accelerate, every time the contractor is on site doing work, there has to be an engineer, there has to be an inspector on site. So that gives us the flexibility to, for example, if it's a summer and you have long work hours, then you could have 2 inspectors on site when the contractor's on site.
Mr. Parker?
I do have a question.
Edward Parker? Oh,
I have a question.
Councilmember Green.
Just because of something that you mentioned, and I know that there's a lot of work that goes on. You got a district council member, you got council members at large and the administration. But so that the public can be aware, you mentioned that the resident inspector is hired by the contractor
No,
himself
he's hired by the engineering company. So
to oversee the work that
Contractor.
the engineer is overseeing,
to oversee the work that the contractor is doing.
right?
So you have an engineer that oversees the construction contractor. So they're not checking themselves.
So why do you separate that in terms of it just not being part of the overall engineering contract? In other words, it almost sounds like a bit of a conflict with someone who's employed by an engineering firm to oversee work that the engineer is actually.
Oh, I see where you're going. So that wasn't part of
I
their
just wanna
original
understand.
contract. Overseeing the engineering was not part of their original contract, so we needed to add it in so that they could have a third party oversee the construction contractor doing the work that they designed.
No, I'm going to ask more questions later so I can have an answer, but you kind of suggested that the person who's hired in this resident position is overseeing the work of the engineer who's providing. I know that's overseeing the contractor.
Yes, sir.
But the contractor is acting according to the engineering specs and plans, right?
Right. Yeah, but they're usually a third party. Like they're the ones that, it's probably, I don't think we've confirmed it yet, but it's probably going to be Wingate, which is the engineering firm that's doing the design of the structural. So it's probably going to be someone from their firm.
When you say that that's part of the original contract as in the, tell me how that worked.
So Digital's original contract in 2020 was just to do the site assessment, we did the bathymetric survey. You've seen the booklet talking about is it possible to rebuild Lincoln Beach, and that's when we came to the determination, like the engineering confirmation that yes, this can happen. And so that was the first part of their contract. So it was just a study. It wasn't overseeing actual construction. And since then, now there's like plans that are underway, and these are the elements that they designed. So it makes sense that they'd want to oversee to make sure it's done right.
Okay. I'll ask you about it afterwards.
Okay.
I'm still a little confused.
Mr. Parker?
Good morning, Ed Parker, 7802 Henley, 70126. Member of the New Orleans United Front. We're very dissatisfied with what is going on out there at Lincoln Beach. Matter of fact, we are asking you, the council, to investigate all of these contracts. We've tried to get in contact with Mr. Tredd, who's supposed to be over all of the contracts. Haven't had a chance to get him to get with us about a meeting. We're very concerned about the relationship between Ms. Robles and the Office of Supply Diversity. We are very concerned about the security contract out there. We've got a disparity study that talked about how black contractors only make, 3 to 5% of city contracts. How could we have local companies that can do the work not getting the work on a black project? We're very concerned about that. We want these contracts at Lincoln Beach investigated as soon as possible. Don't spend another dime until the public is able to get all the information that we should be able to have in our hands so that we can see. Investigate all the contracts at Lincoln Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Ms. Plummer?
Good morning, New Orleans resident, Alicia Plummer. I'm going to piggyback on some of what Mr. Parker said, but let me say this first. I don't care what nobody says. I like this independence of this council. Before we had councils that were just going along and get along. I love the independence of you guys. But when it comes to the Seymour contract, we don't want a Seymour contract because we don't want to see a continuance of these people putting their friends in jobs and positions. That $168,000 job, I want that job. Okay, because this is ridiculous. We've come to you all before this is our fourth time asking for an investigation of the contract that's going on at Lincoln Beach, the relationship with Ms. Robles and the security guy. I was appalled and still appalled that he submitted a bid of $22 that he could do the job, and then y'all come around and amend it like she's trying to do now to give her friends more money. That's not saving us any money. We have to pony up. So he got $4 more when he said he could do the job for $4 less. Come on now. And she outright lied to me about how the first contract happened. I got castigated behind my back by somebody that said I am fighting for a certain security company. I never mentioned any names of any companies. We talked about the process and what's been going on. We're against the Seymour contract. We don't want her to put any more of her people in these positions to make this money, and we've asked by email and phone calls to Mr. Threat to meet with us. I saw him in the hallway last week, and he didn't even follow up. This has to stop.
Mr. Baptiste?
Good morning, City Council. How y'all doing? Belden Baptiste, 1421 North Miro. To me, this look like fraud, a scam. I watch Reggie Ford, I watch Mike Sage and Bliss. They work hard in the New Orleans East. They work even before the council and everybody got involved. And it's a disgrace and disrespectful to me how they treat Reggie Ford, Sage, and Bliss. And all this fraud going on, all this scamming is not right. She need to be removed. They did a security contract that is fraud. So your city council, JP, Helena, Mr. Green, Leslie Harris, even OT, y'all need to make this right, man. It's disrespectful for the way they treat Reggie Ford, Sage, and Bliss. They should be at those tables at the end of the day. This is fraud, and if y'all not going to take action, the community going to have to come take the council and demand that her and Joe Threat be fired.
Mr. Ford?
Good morning. Reggie Ford,
83 West Ball Court. I just want to thank the council for being so involved, always coming to help us understand things better to the best of your ability. But in just watching this whole project, I think Sage should have been involved more. In watching the overall thing, it's just delays. I'm just asking that it be frozen, every contracts be reviewed, all the deadlines be checked out, because everything's pushed behind. What I'm afraid is going to happen is the money's going to run out, and we just won't have anything when you could just simply build something with what we have now that's going to not only generate money, but bring up the property values of the people that's adjacent to the project, and just it's just going to make itself work. It's not that hard to understand to get this thing done. And I'm just highly disappointed in how things are so behind, and it's so simple to do. And we all know no federal money ain't coming. The state definitely ain't sending nothing down. We gotta work with what we have to get this done. And that's all I came here to say. Just freeze it, review everything, and let's just get something built so them children can have something out there in New Orleans East.
Thank you. Anita, any online comments? Councilmember Morrow?
Yeah, I mean, a lot's been said. I will tell you that sitting up here today, it reminds me of kind of a trend we've seen throughout this entire term. And I want to remind y'all of Armstrong Park and Gordon Plaza. These were all projects. Armstrong Park, as y'all know, as the new council came in, they were going to build City Hall at Armstrong Park. The people rose up, had marches and the like. You had the SOS group. And all this work was done to thwart that effort to take Congo Square. And when finally that effort was defeated by the community, what happens is that at the end of it, there is an effort to rewrite history, like the people that were trying to take Armstrong Park were really the friends trying to resolve it now. And when you see the press conferences about the municipal auditorium and about Armstrong Park, the releases about SOS, there is a complete effort to delete the history that the same people that are taking credit for Armstrong Park development, which also is taking too long, are the ones that were trying to destroy it. With Gordon Plaza, there was no effort by the administration to get Gordon Plaza done. Literally, they said, we're not going to pay these people. The city council froze the money, and after the city council fought them for several years, the money was finally released. When the press conference was held about tearing down the first out of Gordon Plaza, all the people that protested, all the council members that got the money, you didn't see them there. None of them were invited, none of them were present, but the new people who were there were the same ones that said, you're never going to see the money, you're never going to get your house moved, and you're not playing nice with everybody else. When I hear the tribulations you guys are going through with Lincoln Beach, it's like third time's the charm. Sage, Reggie, and Bliss were the first ones on the scene, picking up trash, doing all the work. All the national attention around Lincoln Beach is because of those three people and the work they did. All of the accolades, all of the interest. Yet, now that the project's going forward, y'all pushed out. And now there's new people there pretending like they've been there since day one working on it when, as I recall, Reggie and Sage left, y'all had to come in here and fight because they were tearing open the trash bags y'all had piled, picking up the trash, and they were chastising you for picking up the trash but not putting the bags where they wanted. And I have not forgotten that. So it is very troubling to me to hear that this much money is being spent. We said last time you were here, Ms. Robles, that we were very concerned that Sage was not involved in the project. And now all this money is going out the door to do Lincoln Beach, but the people that started Lincoln Beach are being pushed out.
We actually have, so as part of the master plan, we actually have multiple working groups. And Reggie said he just wanted to be like kept up. He didn't want to come to all the meetings because there's a lot of Zoom meetings. But Dawn is on the committee, Abe's on the Economic Development Committee. I mean, we absolutely have three We have a
But it's not enough to have forward-facing meetings presenting to the community what you're doing.
No, this is engaging people, and we've been doing that for the whole entire time.
It's hard for me to feel like people are being engaged when they're showing up to the meetings and saying they're not. I know you may feel like, and procedurally you may have checked the box, but what I'm seeing here is in the community in New Orleans East, you do not have buy-in. And for us to spend this amount of money without community buy-in is problematic. And something I always say regarding any project in the city is that if you don't have community buy-in, how can the ultimate project be successful? I mean, I guess to Reggie and Sage's earlier point, what they sought when they were initially cleaning the trash off of Lincoln Beach was access to the site for people to enjoy it. What they're seeing is plans upon plans upon plans for this massive development that not only do we not have all the money necessarily locked down for it to come to fruition, but you're limiting access to the site while you do it. So I get there's this like dream at the end, but there's a real concern. I mean, let's be very candid. There's federal money tied up in this as well. There's the reality that we have a president who any given day threatens to yank all federal money. What's the plan if the governor and the president yank the federal funding, but you've got a plan based upon all this funding coming in? I mean, I think that there's a reasonable request that there needs to be a phase one that's a beach house or bathrooms in a staging area, and people get access. And as we get more engagement and more plans, we can build out. But it seems like right now it's all or nothing.
No, that's not correct. We actually
Okay,
have multiple
explain to me.
phases. We have like a phase, what we call the quick open. We have a phase one, which is actually making the waterfront structures safe. But right now you have...
And when is phase one supposed to be complete?
It's going to take about a year.
From now?
Yeah. And then there's a phase two. So I know, I mean, we've had a lot of public meetings, and between every public meeting, we've had multiple working group meetings. I mean, if anything, the feedback we're getting is, can you please stop having meetings and just start building things? So to say that there's not, I mean, every single meeting builds upon the meeting before it. And you can see like the stuff that happened, the feedback we got during meeting one was added to during the working group meetings, which is added to in meeting two, and then the same thing over and over again. Right now, after we get the bid out, the priority is going to be the governance structure, when we're going to come back to you to...
I think what would be helpful is that Council Vice President, I know this is your issue and your measure, but I think having a comprehensive presentation with timelines and hard dates at a future meeting to really give us much more hard evidence of the fact that you are on track to meet these deadlines and what funding sources you have for each respective phase would be very helpful, because right now we are several years into this issue, and I know that it appears you feel like the engagement has been robust, but I can tell you that there certainly is always going to be a tension between build it yesterday and we want more meetings, but I really feel like, based on my original interaction regarding Lincoln Beach, working with the community on Lincoln Beach, the primary issue people were seeking was access. And if there is anything, there's a timeline that restricts access, I really need to be made comfortable, and the public needs to be made comfortable, that money is being spent in a transparent way with identified funding streams to get us to that point. And I just do not feel like I'm getting that today.
Well, so the best way to get access is actually to repair the tunnel, to remove the waterfront structures that are unsafe, to fix the perimeter wall, and all of those elements are part of the quick open, building the first part of the parking lot so that you can safely get from the parking lot across the street. All of those elements, what gets the park open are the elements in this contract. We need to finalize this, get this work completed so that we can let the beach be open and it's safe. It's not safe right now.
Well, I mean,
it's not safe to be out there.
If it's going to take a year for us to get this done, then I'm okay waiting another month, Madam Vice President, to get a more comprehensive presentation.
I will say this, on the engagement piece, I think Councilmember Morrell brings up a good point, and it's not just on this issue, but other issues. Engagement means it's coming from both sides, right? And it's not just being talked to or given information to. It's also making sure that you're answering people's questions. And I think that's kind of where we're at, is that there are many questions and the answers don't seem to be coming. And maybe, I think that you think that you're getting that information out or the right questions answered, but it doesn't seem to be happening. One of the things that I think potentially could be worthwhile is if we had, obviously the people who are very invested in this, community leaders who are very much invested in this and who want to be part of this project, if we had a roundtable where we could actually all sit together and get questions really answered and have that type of dialogue. I'm sure Councilmember Morrell would join me in trying to get something like this together. We did it once before. Sage had many questions, and I think you all, along with Mr. Threat, were able to answer some of those questions, but that hasn't happened again in a while. And I think that that's kind of the level of, real coordination and cooperation that it's going to take to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Would you be willing to do that again and bring Mr. Threat?
I don't know, I will ask him to be available. I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, I think that's what's necessary. And on the funding piece, I agree with what Councilmember Morrell was saying, and actually, Romy Samuels recently warned the council about potential implications of federal dollars to the city. I mean, she sent that in a budget letter, and it was part of the, what was it, dire budget?
A dire financial apocalypse,
Yeah.
we have no money, there's no money.
And that was one of the potential items that was mentioned about whether or not we could lose federal dollars, including those that Congress has already appropriated. So I think that is something that we need to look at and potentially prepare for. Now, as far as this particular contract goes, and I don't see any more comments from the dais, I'm not prepared to move this forward. Obviously, I'm not the district council member for this. If there's a separate decision that can be done by the district council member, but I'm not prepared to move this contract forward or take it up for a vote today. I do think it's important for us to get additional questions coming from the community, present that to you all, to you and Mr. Threat, also to digital engineering, and then let's all get in a room together and get all the answers to everybody's questions so that people do feel comfortable. Any other comments on this?
I'm just going to request that we do that as soon as possible. I'm very concerned about the federal situation involving the president, who seems to have the ability to use executive order to get things done overnight. So maybe this meeting can take place as soon as next week. I'm just throwing that out as a possibility. We need to not say we can't meet because of Mardi Gras or stuff like that. It just needs to happen.
I think that the community members are ready to meet. Certainly myself, Councilmember Morrell, I'd love for you to also join if we don't have quorum issues. Mr. Green, I'm willing to meet as quickly as possible. It's really as fast as you all can be part of it, and hopefully we can get it done next
Can be
week.
available right away.
Okay, perfect, great.
Tuesday of next week?
Sure.
I mean, there's no need to, I hate to have the expressions Mardi Gras. We can still meet and do a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
it.
I think we can
Maybe as soon
definitely
as
find
Tuesday
a
of
time next week. Yeah, and we'll just work with you all, members of the community, to get all the different questions that you'd like answered, and then we'll get in a room next week and hopefully get the answers to your questions that you may have finally. Okay? All right. That's all I have on that one, so we won't take a vote on that, but we do have another contract. This is, let's see, this is section B on the contracts page. This is amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement between Civil Service Commission and Jay Ginsburg to increase compensation and to extend the terms to 1 year. Do we have anybody with civil service today?
Do not think so. I think, am I handling this or are you handling this?
I don't know, I don't have it on.
I think I'm handling this.
Okay, this is GA.
Yeah, basically, this just extends the contract of one of the attorneys who serves as a hearing examiner for civil service disciplinary appeals. It's a pretty rote contract. This was brought at civil services request, and I will move approval unless there is any comments on it. All right, I'll move approval. Can I get a second? Second, Councilmember Moreno, please vote your machines. 4 yeas, no nays. It is approved. And with that, Councilman Green moves we adjourn. Is there a second? Council Vice President Moreno seconds. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. We are adjourned. He always, that is Eugene's thing. He's always